telling you, it's not.
Everyone who lived through the 80s, I was like on top of them. I was like, what was it like?
First day of filming, we started right on the bomber set. And we had Sam and Lydia in there and just decided to let's just start right off with the two of them.
When I first met Sam, AKA Carrie, my best friend in the entire universe, we just hit it off. I just love her. I love the chemistry that we had. And I just, she's just amazing.
Did you see that? Yeah. I wonder how something so egregious.
Lydia was absolutely fantastic. She was the nicest person I've ever met.
Hey, Natasha, espionage.
A lot of that, you know, friendship we had right from the start just translated throughout the entire film.
An instant spark. We just became best friends. The first reading we did, we were already saying lines at the same time and with the same tone.
Well, we're gonna be dead to the max if you don't at least try.
I'm waiting for you to say, nah.
And I was like, wow, this is gonna be so much fun.
So we shot with them for a couple of days in the bomber, and then we brought in David Brown, who played Corey Magic.
My name is David Brown, and I am playing Corey Magic.
I need to call my Aunt President and let her know what happened to Mom.
Just wrapped my first day of the shoot, and already it is a really great feeling being back on set.
What can we do to help you, Prince Corey Magic?
I mean, what can anyone do? You know, it's a ruddy black hole.
I'm loving the chemistry with the other people I'm performing with, loving the dynamics with working with Joshua as a director.
David Brown, who played Corey Magic, actually had some really interesting ideas for that character. Originally, he was written as kind of like this surfer dude, like, whoa, man. And during the table read, David said, what if I tried, he's like a reject from Spinal Tap? And I said, great, let's hear it. So he started doing that accent, and it was hysterical. And I was like, all right, we're gonna have to rework some of the lines, but I like this. It's different, it's unexpected, let's do it. We shot all of his stuff in the bomber as well. Then we wrapped out that set and, moved right along. I think the first thing that we shot was actually all of the computer face stuff with Richard Karn. And Karn was just wonderful to work with.
So how did I hear about this? Kristen contacted me about this project, but I think she contacted me on media, social media. And I thought, well, that could be interesting. And then she contacted my agents. They sent me the script. I read the script, and the script was very funny. It was very charming and kind of goofy.
We flew him in from Los Angeles, and we shot with him for an afternoon. It wasn't really even very long that we had him on set, just because Computer Face really is one camera setup.
I would say the best part of my character is the writing. I think that he did an incredible job. Writing something that was in the context of a computer, but a little levity, a little joy in there, and a little bit of the 80s jargon creeps in.
Auxiliary power has been drained by the excessive ray gun usage.
And so we set up the projector and we put the background behind him, and we would record all of his lines just going through. And that went fairly quickly. What was crazy about this shoot was that we were filming probably about 80% of the movie in one room, and just building and repurposing walls and moving things around and rearranging stuff to create different sets within that space. And it's not a big space. One day we would have the bomber set over here, which was using up some of these flyaway wall panels, and then we'd move them over here and we'd have a different set. We'd have whatever. We'd have the throne room set, and then we'd have the Carrie and Jess apartment set. And they were all done with, the same walls, just repainted and redressed and rearranged. Action, hit playback. I was really happy with my entire crew on this. Nathan Hyde, the director of photography, he had been a part of the project for about 2 years by the time we actually got on set. He and I had been developing ideas. He was always my first choice as the DP, and He just did such a wonderful job creating that 80s look that I wanted. He studied a lot of those films, he studied the lighting, he talked with some cinematographers and gaffers who had actually been working during the 80s to find out how to light things, and he just really made it look good. I honestly think it's the best looking film I've ever worked on.
Oh yeah, totally.
Carrie is very, like, girly. She is the girliest girl you'll ever meet, and I'm kind of the same way, so I kind of drew that, like, part out of me. When I imagined her, I just imagined her very, like, bouncy, and she flicks her hair a lot, and she's bubbly and giggly, and so I just tried to pull all of that from, like, pieces of my personality and bring it into her. I think I created her with the hair and the makeup too, because every morning when I get ready, I feel like I was like putting Carrie on, like stepping into her as I'm like teasing my hair to the point where it's dead.
I approached the character of Jess just, looking at the similarities we both shared, and I was like, wow, we have a lot in common. So I kind of took that and I created a little backstory to go with her that's really, similar to my own, and I just kind of rolled with it. She's a brainiac. I mean, she's just this genius 80s gal who's just so silly and fun, and I feel like she's kind of the rock of the relationship between Carrie and Jess. Like, she's the stability, and she kind of, reels Carrie in sometimes when she's out and about doing her crazy stuff. But I just, I love it, and I love the, just the chemistry between the two characters, and I feel like a lot of other people will too.
It's a very fun set, and granted, my work was very, very simple. All I was a talking head. So all I had to do was sit there on a stool and go through the entire script, without the other actors in a weird way. So you don't see everybody every day. You're not always with their, and it's almost like a little independent movie that you're doing.
My production designer, Diane Kowalski. Diane's worked on lots of my films. Every time I look at the footage, it just makes me so happy that she was able to pull off what she did with her team to make it look like what it did for so little money. We were scrounging all kinds of vintage stuff. I mean, we had an authentic Atari system on the set, keyboards and monitors and everything. I think that Diane's work on Carrie and Jess Save the Universe is some of the best work she's ever done. Shooting the music video sequences was a lot of fun. When we came up with the idea to shoot musical numbers in the style of 80s music videos, I was like, that's perfect. So we were very fortunate to get Ryan Faber to put together some songs, and they sound very vintage. I had him listening to a lot of the Go-Go's and Bangles and stuff like that, getting some reference for what those 80s girl bands sounded like, and I think he did a great job of recreating that sound, as well as with the vocalist Danira, who did a marvelous job performing the vocals and also writing the lyrics to the songs. And I think the music is just such a crucial part of the 80s as a decade in general in terms of pop culture and entertainment. So if we're doing an 80s style movie, the music has to be an important part of that. And so that also meant we got to shoot some different music video styles, which was a lot of fun. The movie opens, during the opening credits, we're actually seeing Carrie and Jess at an audition, and they're on a stage performing. And then, after that, when we get into the I Need Some Space number, that one was just like straight up music video. Let's shoot performance, and then let's also just shoot a bunch of zany stuff, and then let's also shoot a little bit of story stuff that's moving the plot forward. But it was just such a fun way to move the story ahead in a way that feels very much of its time. The Black Hole in My Heart sequence was a lot of fun too, because we actually shot Carrie and Jess separately for that one, since it comes at a moment in the story when they are very much separated. Nathan and I were looking a lot at the opening credits from the James Bond movie For Your Eyes Only, and the way they filmed Sheena Easton for that opening sequence performing the song. And we used that as a reference point for a lot of what we were doing in that. But then it sort of took on a life of its own and ended up just being its own thing. And ultimately, once we started shooting it, it became a lot more complicated than the original plan for it was, but it was great. The final music video sequence that plays during the end credits, we actually went out to Grand Haven, Michigan, and we shot at the beach there. And it was kind of a mad scramble because we actually shot that part on film. We shot it on 16mm film, and we only had the 16mm film for one day. We drove out to the beach and we shot all of our 16mm film stuff on location during that evening. And then the next day, we finished off the 16mm footage, the day that we had actually planned to be shooting it, which is the stuff of them performing on green screen. We finished that with the film the next day, and then just had a very short day since we had already shot the beach stuff. But you know, that one sequence we got to actually shoot on 16mm, and it looks very authentic, and I'm really happy we were able to do that. And it was just a lot of fun, just running and kind of improvising with 16mm film down at the beach.
I enjoyed every single day on set of this film, but I would say that my favorite days were the days that we did the musical numbers and like the music video portions, because I've always wanted to be a rock star and I just don't have that ability in my gene pool. Like, I'm not a musician in any way. I got to be a rock star. I got to rock out for one day. We were like on this big set. It was just awesome. And then another time we had these like giant inflatable unicorn things and our boom boxes on our shoulders, and it was just like so awesome and 80s, and I just can't wait for everyone to see it.
I actually talked to my parents so much about the 80s. My mom kind of like talked about it and she was like, yeah, well, you know, there's the Valley Girls. And I was like, what are the Valley Girls? And I ended up watching just like a bunch of older like 80s movies, like, you know, Breakfast Club, a classic, of course. Yeah, a few other ones, just like really good movies. And I was like, all right, that's who I need to like encompass and embody now. And then a lot of Google imaging searching to like get the color palette going.
The rest of our cast was awesome. Kristen Million as the Space Queen, and Bob Ford as her minion, Marco.
Marco!
Hold on, Mike.
You don't have to do that every time, Marco.
I love this role because it is a villain, and it is a fun villain that goes through a transformation in the film. I'm very happy to be here and having fun with other actors and crew, and yeah, I'm just delighted to be on set.
It's funny, I had just done another film with Kristen and Bob sharing a lot of screen time in my last feature, Melody on Earth, which is a very minimalist, very kind of awkward comedy, very quiet kind of minimalist film. And so to see them then go from that to this huge, over-the-top, crazy, you know, just nutty movie like this was a lot of fun. And the two of them have really good chemistry. They play off each other well, and I thought that they just did a great job.
Awesome.
Great. We just had a great team just down the line, and for all the craziness that was going on during pre-production trying to get this finished, we had a relatively smooth shoot. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be those little problems, but everybody was working hard, and you know, we got to blow up some miniatures and just do some really crazy fun stuff. Work with green screen, work with, you know, a giant kaiju penguin at one point, which was a lot of fun. And then the last 3 days with all the stuff with the presidential headquarters and the science agency and Natasha Espionage's spaceship, we filmed all of that actually at a local movie theater in their corporate office where our production designer had been a manager at the time, and we were able to get in there and have a really nice conference room space for the president's war room, and all that stuff just looked really good.
I mean, I just felt like I was at home. You know, everyone was so welcoming. I felt like that was my place. That was where I belonged for that entire month, and I made so many friends, and I just felt so taken care of on set there. And everyone was like just dedicated and took it so seriously. Like, for being, you know, an 80s buddy sci-fi comedy. It was like everyone was so devoted to it, and I loved that energy. I just can't express how just amazing that was. And I had no idea that that even existed in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Like, such things are going on in Michigan. So yeah, I'm just amazed, and thank you so much to the director Joshua Cortade for putting it together, and the devoted cast and crew for just like making this huge, over the top, out of this universe. I couldn't expect any better, and I loved it.
It was absolutely the best experience I could have ever asked for. Everyone was so kind, everyone was organized, like everyone knew what was going on and what was happening. I never had a question that couldn't be answered for more than like 2 seconds, you know? Like, it was just amazing, and everyone was so sweet and welcoming and knowledgeable.
It's definitely a fun ride.
If there was ever a sequel to Carrie and Jess, I would like totally be there.
Carrie and Jess Save the Universe is definitely a different kind of movie for me. It's something a lot bigger than I'm used to, but it was a lot of fun. And we're still in post-production right now as I'm recording this, but I have not gotten sick of looking at the footage yet. It's still so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait for audiences to see this crazy, goofy, fun, wild ride about the power of friendship and rock and roll. Yeah, tubular.